Nice to catch up with Toby Gerhart, Minnesota Vikings running back, drafted in the second round after coming out of Stanford. And, of course, he was second in the Heisman voting. And Toby, when I think about you and I think that the way you run, I think you're perfect for the National Football League. What were the anticipations that you had about the pro experience, and how has it been similar to or different from what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I was excited to get out there and get playing. It's a dream for me. As a kid, you dream of playing in the NFL, and, I finally get an opportunity to. And, I always heard it's going to be so much faster and everybody's so much bigger and so much stronger. And, yeah, it's a little bit of that, but it's come along well, and excited to get out there and contribute here this season.
I know one of the things that you said in the early going was, I was almost being mechanical instead of letting instincts take over. Is that because you were trying to learn the system?
Yeah, when you get there, you want to make a good impression, and I think you try, too hard. You try to run everything exact, almost running lines like in a playbook. And, football is an instinctual game, especially at the running back position. And there's times where you got to see something and make a jump cut or something, that's not necessarily drawn up on paper. And at first I was kind of, just being cautious and not trying to make a mistake. But once I got comfortable with the system and, just started playing football again and, started having a lot more success.
One of the things that players jumping from the college level to the NFL level don't really, I think, truly understand is that you've got to reprove yourself. It doesn't matter what your reputation was in college. You've got to come in and you've got to prove to your teammates that you're capable of playing at that level. What were some of the tests that you had to go through to prove to your teammates that you could play in the NFL?
It seemed, all through camp that everybody was taking a shot at me. Every time I touched the ball, somebody would give me a pop and to test me. And, I think that's, like you said, part of them, wanted to see how you were as a player, how you would respond. And, I think guys, I had a little bit of hype. I was known as a physical runner, so guys wanted to test me. And they tested me often. And, I think over time they started to respect me, and, I get along now perfectly with all the guys.
I know you once also said I was hardly ever touched when you referred to when you were playing at Stanford. That's got to be a kind of an eye-opener, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially my last year there at Stanford, I was kind of, basically off limits to hit. I'd run through, guys would tag off on me but barely touch me. Here it's shoulder pads and just helmets, and they're laying the wood on me. And it was definitely different. I was like, all right, I got to make sure I get my pads down, all the time. And, it was a quick learning experience, but, it'll make me a better player in the end.
You're an intelligent guy, and I would not suspect that you'd have the awe factor in the NFL. Some players do have the awe factor when they make that jump up to that level. Did you have that at all? And I say that because I know that one of your favorite players when you were a kid was Brett Favre, and now you find yourself being handed the ball by him.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's, these are guys that you grew up, especially in Brett's case, someone I grew up watching and idolizing, and now I'm on the same field with him, working with him, taking handouts, catching passes. So, the first day was, there definitely was a little bit of an awe factor. And, the first handoff, first catch was like, all right, don't drop the ball, But after, that first initial meeting, it's, you're there for one common goal, and you're working towards that goal together, and that's to win a Super Bowl. And, you get past that, and it's just football.
Where is that number 4 Favre jersey you used to have as a kid?
I actually have it now. My mom, she heard me, say that I used to have one, and when we went out for the preseason game in San Francisco, she had it packed in a little bag and gave it to me, and she's like, I still had it up in the attic. So I have it here at my house or at my apartment now, and hopefully sometime down this season I'll, get Brett to sign it.
When you take a look at that man and all the years that he's played, what is it that you appreciate now that you're a professional, one professional watching another?
Yeah, I definitely, growing up, I appreciated, the way he played the game, the way he carried himself. He always seemed to go about it the right way, played it hard. And, now that I'm working with him, I can see, why he's one tough guy. He takes risks. He's been playing, this is 20th year. Or 21st, 20th year, and I don't know if he's ever missed a game, and it's a violent sport, and just the amount of time he puts in, taking care of himself, and the type of film study he does to, truly understand the defenses and anticipate their every move, really gives me a greater appreciation for him and, his work ethic.
Tell me a little bit about body language in the huddle when you're in the huddle with him, because, there's been people like Joe Montana and certainly Brett Favre, and I've always had the understanding and appreciation for when a guy like that, of that stature, steps into the huddle, the guys kind of look at him and they believe that, okay, we've got 30 seconds left, we're down by 6, we're on our own 10-yard line, but you know what? We can still win that game. He really generates that type of confidence, doesn't he?
Yeah, he definitely does. He's in full control and in full charge when he's out there. He knows exactly what he wants. He can, he'll alter a play even a little bit and tell you, okay, instead of doing this, I want you to just kind of sneak out here. And he just is so far ahead of everybody. I haven't necessarily had a chance to, be in that situation, this early on in the season, but just watching it over the years and interacting with him in 2-minute drills and practice, he just has this calm, cool, collective, and knows and just has this confidence that, kind of rubs off on everybody.
Let me take you back to Stanford in your career there, because aside from what you did in football, you also played on the baseball team as a starting center fielder. And in your last year at Stanford, you carried a 21-credit course featuring courses like prehistoric archaeology and integral calculus. And you really took some courses that were really, really hard. Tell me a little bit about how you approached being a big-time, full-time athlete in college and also being someone taking a heavy athletic or academic workload.
Yeah, it was something, that really had to work at. All along, part of our baseball coach, Coach Marquis, he always makes, his baseball players take heavy course loads. And because a lot of times baseball players leave after their junior year, and he doesn't want them to be, so far behind when they have to come back years later and finish up. He wants them to graduate early. And so that 21, unit course load really allowed me the opportunity to leave school in January and train for the combine and only have 3 classes come back and finish up, which I did once the combine was over. So, it just was time management, always, staying on top of the studies, not letting them get behind. And, fortunately, everything worked out.
I was very interested in a quote of yours. You say, I tell kids, don't be afraid to excel in the classroom. I think people shy away from that. They buy into the stereotype that athletes shouldn't be smart, that it's not cool. The people who can do both academics and athletics are special people who get a ton of respect in the long run. Do you think that most athletes are kind of labeled with that dumb jock image?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of times, if someone excels at sports, people automatically assume they don't necessarily excel in the classroom. And, going to Stanford, I was fortunate enough to, be with, hundreds and hundreds of, student athletes that, were valedictorians, salutatorians, top of their classes from their respective high schools, and some of the best athletes in the world. And, I think at times, like that quote said, people, either want to specialize too much or, think that, football or sports or whatever it's going to be is going to be their sole, way of getting through school. When in turn, I see tons of athletes each year that can't get into college because they didn't take care of business in the classroom.
Toby, one of the things I heard from somebody that respects you greatly is the fact that you're not afraid to fail. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He says, because he doesn't look at anything he tries as being failure. He sees it more as learning from the experience. That's a very unique philosophy. Where does that come from in you?
I'd say it was kind of instilled, from my parents early on. They always challenged us, to do our best and to try, things outside the box and not to be afraid of failure. And, at times, more often than not, you're going to fail. And it's just how you learn from that experience and you make those changes and, try to improve yourself to not fail the next time. And I think that's really been a philosophy that, I've lived by, and it's helped me get to where I am now.
You're playing with a great running back in Adrian Peterson. Tell me a little bit about what you see in him.
Adrian, he's a special guy. I watched him, my freshman year. He was there at Oklahoma, and I was, worked with one of the strength coaches that worked with him, and he talked about his work ethic. And now just getting out here and being with him, it's been awesome. I didn't realize that. I remember my first day there. I was like, dang, he's a lot faster than I thought he was. He's truly explosive, and he's been a tremendous help, with me, helping me learn the offense. If I mess up, telling me what I did wrong and how to fix it, and really being positive about it. So he's been a blessing for me here, and he's truly one of the best athletes and hardest workers I've ever been around.
Toby, I want to thank you for your time. Let's stay in touch. I want to follow your NFL career. Come back and join us again on Sports Byline.
I would definitely like that. Thank you very much.
Toby Gerhart, running back for the Minnesota Vikings. We continue with more of you and Sports Byline.